Okay, I've got my two zipper trims folded and pressed. Okay, so this is the pretty side. All right, and I just folded them hot dog style. All right, so you're gonna take this, we're gonna do one at a time. We're gonna flip over to our lining. Now, this might look really familiar to some of you who might have watched our what was that, our boxy bag video. And this is a very similar construction as that one is, okay? So take your piece here, and I want you to line it up with the top of your material here, okay? So just line that up, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna stitch 1/4 inch all the way across, all right? So go ahead and either pin it or bind it, and I'll see you at the machine. All right, we're gonna stitch 1/4 inch down across this zipper trim here. We're also gonna do the same to the opposite end, okay? Now, the reason why we don't reverse across this particular strap, because we're actually going to have some extra stitching when we fold over, so we'll get that extra stitch in there, okay? I knew y'all asked that question. Miss Ann, you didn't reverse. And then reverse at the end. All right, like I said, cut your threads, and let's do the same thing with the other side. I don't think I said it before, I can't recall, but when you're attaching this trim, make sure it's the raw edge of the trim, not the folded side, that you're attaching to our lining piece, okay? So your folded side should be facing down, okay? And you should be lining up that raw edge. I just want to make sure I was clear about that. Go ahead and take it, and you're going to fold it up, that trim, and we're going to press right across. All right, do the same for the other side. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to take our zipper trim, we're going to fold it across just to cover our stitch line here, okay? And it's going to also encase our raw edge. Now, if you have some of this, that will be great. If you don't, it's fine too, okay? This kind of just helps with not having to use pins. So this is a glue base, okay? It's rock sand. Can y'all see that? It's rock sand glue basted, all right? And what you're gonna do is take it, and you're gonna put a bead of glue right on the stitch line, okay? Just put you a bead. And what this is it's a temporary hold so that you don't have to use pins. Take your folded line, I like to start in the middle, place it just like a hair, about 1/8 of an inch over that stitch line, okay? And you're gonna press it with the iron. What the iron does is it heat sets it. And it's not going to hurt anything if some comes out. See there? Now you don't have to use pins. Now do the same thing to the other side, and then what we're going to do is we're going to stitch across. All right, we've got both sides ready to go. And what you want to do is have your fold in the middle of your presser foot, and then we're going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch up from that fold towards the right, okay? You don't have to reverse here. You can just stitch across. We're just top stitching, okay? If you want to do direct decorative stitch, you're welcome to do that. Go ahead and cut your threads. Let's do the same thing with the other side. Okay, y'all, it is zipper time. So grab you your zipper foot. All right, on my machine, I'm working on a Brother SC600. And so my zipper foot looks like this, almost looks like a tongue sticking out at you. It has the letter I in it. And there's a rod going across here. It has a left side and a right side. You always want to put your zipper foot on the side that will allow you to be closest to the teeth of your zipper. So the way I'm going to be traveling, I'm going to place it on my right side, okay? So just hold this, and I'm going to go on the right side here. See if I can zoom in. Y'all can see. There we go. And I'm just going to lower the presser foot down and let it click in place. Okay? Do you see that? All right. And so now what I'm going to do is take one of my sides here, and I'm going to take my zipper, and I always buy a zipper that's longer than what I'm working with, okay? So if you want to get you a zipper that's like 16 inches long or 18 plus, we're going to cut it. So it doesn't really matter. I just don't ever want to have to fight with the zipper pull, okay? So that's why I get a longer piece. All right, we're going to take the folded side here, and we're going to line it up right there with our teeth. You see that? We're going to line it up right there with our teeth, okay? Now, I'm going to take me a few pins just to get me started. And you're going to poke it through. And because we're dealing with, a skinny piece, kind of angle your pin, okay? See how I'm angling it? That way I make sure I can grab the back, okay? So I'm going to just put a few of those in there just to get me started. And then I can just use my hand the rest of the way. Now you're welcome to pin all the way down, whatever is most comfortable for you, okay? All right. So I'm going to then take my piece, I'm going to line it up. I'm lining it up so that that fold is lined up with the edge of the presser foot, okay? You see that there? That fold is lined up with the edge of the presser foot. And I'm just going to lower my presser foot down to make sure I'm straight. All right, and we're going to just stitch right across. We're going to leave our needle in the center. So let me go back to the center here. All right. He doesn't look like the center on this zipper foot, obviously, but you do want him center placed, okay? And we're going to stitch on down. Reverse stitch. Keeping that fold lined up with the edge of that presser foot. Okay, we got the zipper on one side, and now we need to attach the other side, okay? So just take it, and what you want to do is you want to line up your ends here, okay? Make sure they're lined up. See how they're nice and straight? Well, maybe not so straight in. Take it, and you're going to pin it in place, okay? All right, once you got it lined up, just pin it in place. Again, pin it at an angle, okay? And then what I like to do is I like to go to my opposite side and also make sure that guy is lined up. Because I do not like my pieces to be off. All right, take it, pin him in place. All right, I think I've attached my finger. Have y'all ever done that where you're sewing and you get that little first layer of your finger? Well, that's when I say, you know, I really made this project with my blood, sweat, and tears, literally. All right, so that guy is nice and lined up, and our beginning is nice and lined up. And so what we want to do now is unzip. So unzip all the way down. All right, and we can now sew this side down, okay? You guys have hung in there, and we are making some awesome progress. Look at this. We've got our zipper in, and we've also got our inner straps in for our wipes. We're doing good. So now we're gonna sew up these sides, okay? So go ahead and zip yourself back up, and I want you to flip it inside out, okay? I tell y'all, making this wipes little pouch reminds me of when we were fostering, when we first started fostering. We fostered for about 7.5 years. And we had our first placement. And the first night, the little guy did not talk at all. But early the next morning, you know, I'm hearing this, Bella, Bella, Bella. He's like calling his sister's name, who was still asleep. And I go in and there's like white everywhere. And I'm like, why is there white everywhere? And now my kids were a little bit older. So, you know, I wasn't thinking. I had left the wipes container by the changing station. I had left the wipes there, and so he took the wipes one by one and was pulling them out, and so there were wipes everywhere. It was the funniest thing. But anyway, so that was a fun experience. All right, so we've got it turned inside out, and now what we want to do is line up our zipper. We're going to line up our zipper teeth with our center stitch. You remember we had our center stitch at the bottom? So just line that up there, okay? And make sure your edges are all lined up. All right, and I'm just going to put a binder clip there on both sides of the zipper. I would love to hear any of you all's crazy stories of things that, you know, you might not have done for a while when it pertains to your kids, and then it's almost like, duh, why did I do that? Why did I leave that out? All right, let's go to the other side. Same thing. You're going to take your teeth, line it up with that center there. And make sure you're all lined up. All right, now with this particular one that has the zipper pull on it, you want to take and open up your zipper. So just pull that baby down out of that stitch area. All right. All right. And now what we're going to do is we are going to stitch across here. And we're going to stitch across here like 3/8 of an inch. Okay. I'll see you over at the machine. All right, like I said, we're doing 3/8 seam allowance, so make sure from your edge to your needle position is 3/8 of an inch, okay? Go ahead and stitch forward and reverse, and we're gonna stitch on across. Now, when we come across the zipper, we're gonna reverse stitch just to secure that area. So reverse back over the teeth and then keep on going, okay? Do the same thing for the other side. Okay, we've got the zipper in. Let's go ahead and we're gonna cut off the extra. All right, don't use your good scissors for this. Just go ahead and cut that nice and even. Do not cut your hand like I almost did. I'm sure one of y'all is fussing at me right about now. No, Miss Ann, don't do that. All right. Go ahead and do that. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create a box pleat. Okay. We're going to cut it out first. So we're going to cut out these corners. We're going to cut it out 1 3/4 of an inch box pleat. Okay. So not your average 2 inch or 1.5 inch. We're actually doing 1 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So take you a ruler or a template, you know, whatever it is that you want to use. Take that. And what you're going to do is, let me zoom in here a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. All right. We are going to be focusing on this line right here. All right. And take your, you know, Fixon marker. And what we're going to do is we're going to line it up so that, and y'all, it might be kind of hard for me to see. Let's see. We're going to line it up so that from the stitch line this way, we're 1 3/4, and from the fold this way, we are 1 3/4, okay? So let's get lined up here. All right, that looks good. And we're just going to draw a line. I'll make mine a little bit darker because I've got some other lines that are similar going on there. All right, so if you see there, we have a line. Do that for all 4 of your corners, and I want you to cut it out, okay? Okay, so once you've gotten your squares cut out, it should look like this, okay? That's how it should look. All right, grab your two bias strips, and they're like 2.5 inches by 6. You should have 2 of them, and just take them and we're gonna fold them in half, hot dog style, and I want you to just press it, okay? All right, now that you've pressed it, okay, I want you to take one at a time, take your raw edge, and we're gonna go to the ends here, you know, like our zipper ends if you wanna call it that, and you're gonna take and put it back behind. And the reason why we're putting it behind is we want to see our stitch line here, okay? So go ahead and put it back behind there. Line up that raw edge of that bias strip with the raw edge of our bag here. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch directly on that same line, okay? All right. Grab you some binder clips or pins, whichever you want to use, and hold it in place and stitch across, okay? Go ahead and do that on both sides, and I'll meet you back here. All right, now that your binding edge is on here, it should look just like so. Just like so, okay? I want you to go ahead and press it up, and we are going to attach this just like we did our blue strip here, our zipper trim. So I want you to press it up, and then you're going to fold it over, and you can trim this down. You can trim half of that down, and then fold it over, and we're going to stitch that down, okay? I'll show you what that looks like. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just stitch in a ditch, okay? It's right where the seam is. Okay, if you all have gotten that far, you have done well. We are almost there. Trust me, this has been such a wonderful project. You're going to be so proud of yourself once you see the final result. So on the ends here, we're going to just cut these little tails off. All right, do that for both sides, and then we're going to lay this piece to the side for a moment, and we're going to work on our handles, okay? All right, so your ends should look nice and finished, okay? So put that to the side, grab both your handles, okay? And as you can see, both of them have an interface piece that goes with it, okay? Go ahead and fuse that on. You're also going to go ahead and fold and press this like we did when we did our Velcro straps here, okay? The only difference is you do not have to finish the sides, okay? So just fold in half, press, you know, and do those folds, okay? You don't have to do the finished ends, okay? Go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that your two strap styles, your handles are pressed, okay, should look like this, okay? One's going to be shorter than the other. We're going to put a few binder clips on here, and I'm going to show you how to stitch either, you know, a handle of your choice, okay? So we're going to go over to the machine just like we did our Velcro strap, and we're going to stitch down these two long sides about 1/8 of an inch, okay? Okay, let's start with attaching the buckle to our longest strap here. So take your long strap, and what you're going to do is you're going to just fold it in half, okay, just like we did our Velcro, and we're going to cut that fold so we have two pieces, okay? All right, and then what I want you to do is undo your buckle here. Just separate the pieces. Doesn't matter which one you do first. And you're going to take it, you're going to slide it, you know, through that first little chamber there. And we're going to fold it back. We're going to stitch across here, okay? But before we stitch across, actually let's make it 1.25 inches. We're going to fold this little edge back so that it's nice and finished. All right. And then we're going to stitch straight across, okay? So go ahead and do that. Okay, so one buckle is done, one side rather. And so now let's do the same thing to the other side, okay? Turn it back about 1.25 inches so that you can turn your edge down. All right, guys, both sides of our buckle is done, okay? And so we're just gonna connect that, and we're gonna put this to the side, okay? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start our box pleat. Okay, y'all, it's box pleat time, where we're gonna insert one of these handles, okay? So what you're gonna do is take your piece, and you know, these corners that we cut out, that's where our box pleat is going to end up going, okay? But we're going to do a different technique today, so that you don't have to do a binding cover over the corners. What I want you to do is turn, unzip the zipper and turn your bag, your pouch here, to the right side. And you can start to get an idea of what it's looking like. Look at that. Oh, that's so stinking cute. Love it. All right. So now if you are going to use just a regular handle, where the handle, you know, looks just like this, no buckle, then what you're going to do is you're going to take this strap and you're going to line it up so that it's centered over this side seam right here, okay? Line it up right there, just like so. And you're going to put a binder clip there, okay? You're going to do the same thing with the other side. Line this edge up where it's in the middle of that the seam. It's straddling over that seam, and put you a binder clip right here. All right, so go ahead and do that, and what you're going to do is you're going to stitch straight across. Okay, you're going to stitch straight across on that one. Now, if you're doing the buckle, same thing, y'all. Same exact thing. You're going to take it and let that seam straddle over, you know, right there where it's over the middle of the strap, okay? Put your binder clip right there. Go to the other side, again, lining up this corner here, this box pleat corner here, lining all that up and having this again where it's covering that seam, where that seam is in the middle of the strap. And y'all can cut this to whatever length, you want this handle, to be, okay? Okay, our first stitch is going to be at a 1/4 inch seam, okay? And don't forget to reverse. And be careful when you're coming across this strap, because you remember it is thick underneath there, and you want to make sure that you don't end up breaking a needle. Go all the way across. All right, you want to do that same thing for the remaining 3 corners, okay? Okay, so our 4 corners are all stitched on the outside. I know y'all are like, what in the world? So this is a French seam that we're doing. If you look at one of our older videos, the pillowcase, that also gives you a picture of how to create that French seam, okay? So now what you're gonna do is we're gonna cut this 1/4 inch seam in half. So Miss Ann, why didn't we just stitch 1/8 of an inch? Because it's a lot easier when you're dealing with thicker material to stitch a little bit of a wider seam and then trim down, okay? That was a good question. So go ahead and let's cut this in half and do that for all 4 corners. And then we're gonna flip it inside out, okay? All right, now that we're inside out, what we're gonna do now is make sure this seam here is nice and flat, okay? Just making sure that's nice and flat there. And we are now gonna stitch across this seam again, but this time our seam allowance is gonna be 3/8 of an inch, okay? Do that for all 4 corners, and then y'all, we will be done. Okay, y'all, we've got our final stitch, done. It should look something like that. Now let's turn it to the right side. Make sure you poke out all of your corners good, okay? And I did a double stitch when I did my last seams there. I did a double stitch just to give it a little bit more security in those corners, okay? So that's up to you. Look at that. Oh my goodness, y'all. If y'all have a business or what have you, you can put your tag on. But look at that. All right, so now let's do a test. So I'm just grabbing some, this is Parents' Choice. I just grabbed from the store. Looks like it's 100 wipes in there. which is a ton. It's a lot of wipes. So you're just going to slide that in and let that opening line up. All right. And then the straps here, you'll take them and you'll secure it on the inside, okay? So just let it secure there. All right, look at that. Isn't that good? Oh, I love it. I don't have any more babies though. My girls are grown. All right. And this is like a size 3 diapers. And I have 3 in there. And so I'm just going to stuff that down in there. All right. You have room for a little outfit, you know, if you need an outfit changed. I would say if you had like pull-ups, you could probably get 2 pull-ups in there, like an outfit change. Y'all, we've even got room for some snacks if we want it. Look at that. These are kind of big snacks. Your kids aren't going to eat that much. All right. And so then you just take it and you're going to zip it up. And look, I love that. Might even put a zipper tab over here. That looks really good, y'all. Oh, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you all enjoyed this project. I know I loved creating it with you. Continue to like and subscribe our videos. I really appreciate you all watching and commenting. I love your comments. And if you want to know more about us, you can go to sewphoriastudio.com and find out more about us. But in the meantime, Lord, you all continue to create until I see you next time, okay? Take care. Bye.